Do 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 do. Uh, this is the Audio Atheist Friends. Fuck your God. This is Matthew. That's Eric. And who's that other person? Hi.
I'm Brandon.
Hi, Brandon.
This
How
is
you
my
doing?
work husband.
Your work husband?
Since I can't get a real one.
Oh, good grief. We are going there already. So, what's going on, Eric? What's the haps?
Well, I'm gonna get really close to the camera because my lighting sucks. But do you see this?
The glasses are
Yes.
amazing.
Also, I got an eyebrow piercing, so I'm like 10 times cooler.
10 times cooler.
No, really? Okay, so yesterday I went to this place called Jamestown, North Dakota, and it's like a smaller town than Fargo, but it still has like a Walmart.
Wow. They are everywhere.
But anyway, so we went to the Walmart because, you know, that's what you do in small towns for fun.
Because there are no malls to wander.
Yeah, basically. And I got a lot of weird looks. And I don't like walking around Fargo. Maybe it's just because Fargo's a little more liberal than anywhere else in North Dakota. But I don't.
Do those words belong in the same sentence?
No.
North Dakota and liberal? Anyways.
Less conservative, less Nazi-ish. I don't know. But
less fucking fascist?
Yeah. So I don't usually get a lot of weird looks, or I don't usually notice them because I don't give a fuck. But I was with the guy that I'm seeing, and he kind of he notices all the people staring. And I tested it. Like, we held hands some, and we got a lot of weird looks, and I was like, all right, cool. People hating gays, love it. But then we weren't holding hands, and I wasn't wearing anything crazy. I was wearing, like, a black polo and dark blue shorts and my regular glasses. So I was looking pretty normal for me. And so, but all these old ladies and like some older men, like most of them were older, some of them weren't. Some of them were like around my age, and they kept staring at me really weird. And I was wondering, I don't know if it's because it was a different place or if the eyebrow piercing makes that much of a difference. Like, how much of a difference could that make? But it might.
It might, actually, because I've of course seen your regular glasses before too, and they more fit. These are like oversized, you know what I'm saying? So your regular, I think the piercing would show more in your regular glasses, and then I think it's kind of like the piercing kind of accentuates all the rest of it. It's kind of like the hair color is okay, hair colors change, the haircut is okay, but then when you start adding piercings in, and you know you got your ears pierced and all that kind of stuff too, and people just be like, "What the fuck is that?" I can see it.
And like the tattoos too. I don't know.
Exactly. I can see all of these people going, "What the fuck is that?" Because I used to think the exact same thing. And like I'd see somebody who was, you know, flamboyant, or maybe even not so flamboyant, but somebody who just kind of screams gay, and you're just like, man, what the fuck? Because because I had that bigotry, you know what I'm saying? And so you see these people walking down the street, and you're like repulsed and fascinated all at the same time. It's like, what are the life choices that would make somebody do some shit like that? But at the same time, you can turn it around and go the other way. What life choices did you make, or the influences that you had that made you a straight bigot? You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
it's just as mirrors look both ways. You know what I'm saying? You're looking at the mirror reflects back. So,
all right, yeah. So that's just something I noticed, and it was weird. And I've had a few weird looks, like I said here. Usually, when I've noticed them, I was walking with my guy, and we were holding hands, and like these people like really are very obvious, and it's just really interesting because I've never really experienced that. I guess now I really pass well. In my last relationship, I thought I passed pretty well, but also, yeah, I don't know. It's weird. So I guess now that I'm visibly gay, I get to go through that.
Yeah, the bigotry of being gay, not just being trans, but being gay as well, too.
Yeah, and I don't know if some people still question that too, because like I do have breasts that show, and like it confuses people. Not like shows out, but like through shirts.
I understand what you're saying. Yeah,
Hello, look at me.
you've got lumps. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
So and like more than if I was just overweight type deal. You know what I mean? I mean, I am overweight, but anyway. So that was a fun subject.
Hey, stop looking at my moobs. Don't look at my moobs.
Don't look at
I got a nice solid B cup going. You know.
Well,
I mean,
good for you.
thanks. So Brandon,
how are your moves?
How are your moves? Yeah, great.
Good. I'm in a good spot with my moves.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I worked out yesterday, so my moves are sore. Anyway.
So Brandon, what's going on, man? What do you do? What you're about? All that kind of stuff, man. What's up?
So yeah, I work with Eric.
I pity you. I'm sorry.
It's great, actually. Like, part of my job is just hanging out and going around and talking to people that might be homeless and giving them resources and stuff. So it's a lot of walking around the city and just talking to people. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, with Eric, which is awesome. So It's like a podcast every day with me. You know, like
awesome.
Eric every day talk about things going on and
God.
So, but yeah, so I've been watching you guys for the last couple months and just
really
this deal and it's really cool. I've never really got into podcasts before. My wife is like really into different podcasts, like and she told me all about these different things. Like, oh yeah, that's great, that's cool. And then Eric was like, I have a podcast. I was like, maybe I'll listen to that. And now I listen to about like 4 or 5 different podcasts every time they drop something. So so you guys have been like really cool and getting me into the podcast world. And now I'm actually on a podcast, which holy shit, like here I am.
Yay! Is this your first one?
Yeah, ever.
We get to break.
Oh
the
my
cherry?
God, we get to break the cherry.
Gentle.
I'm not sure this is a show for gentle.
Be rough. I like it that way too.
We gotta spit on it first before we stick it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Sounds like my Friday night.
Yeah.
Nice. So yeah.
If you don't watch the video version of this, I just want you to know Matthew is like, what the fuck?
Well, what was it? I saw a joke. What's the difference between a mosquito and a slut? A mosquito will stop sucking you once you slap them.
Oh, I'm a slut.
Okay. I don't have a problem with that. Whatever floats your boat. Row on, motherfucker.
I really like just pushing you. You just are like, why?
You know, it's funny because it's like there are sometimes it's like, you know, it's like it pushes against, you know, all the stuff that I grew up, you know, my mental upbringing. It's like, how do I react to that? Do I, you know, it's like sometimes my instantaneous gut reactions can be a little conservative. They really can be.
I see them. I see them in your eyes.
As long as you don't see 1,000 churches in my eyes, we're good.
Yeah. I can see you fighting it, but you're good.
That was a reference. The 1,000 Churches was In Your Eyes by Peter Gabriel. It was a song many years ago.
I bet Brandon caught that.
Not quite.
Oh.
Okay. Wow. I threw a reference nobody caught. I am not surprised.
Someone out there in the world might have caught it, and they might appreciate it a lot.
What, are 3 listeners? I doubt it. And one of them is here.
Yeah.
So are there 2 listeners?
I'm telling you, we have more than 3 listeners.
I don't believe it. Anyways.
I was like super inspired. Also, like I think Callie was her name last time she was on. Yeah, and she was like talking about like what keeps you up at night. What is something that like really gets you going? And when I was listening, I was like, that's like I think I could do a podcast on the shit that keeps me up on like all night because there's a lot. So I'm starting a new podcast called One Journey Left, and so it's gonna be like just analyzing like leftist ideas and different like news sources and things, and just kind of like figuring out what this whole like left political thing is, right? So like you, I've heard enough things to hear, or enough shows to hear that you kind of grew up in the church and all that stuff. I kind of did too. You know, I had a lot of really conservative evangelical influences when I was younger, and you know, like I still am a Christian, but like I've totally disavowed like that whole like conservative Christian bullshit cult. So like, but beyond that, my more political influences have been getting more and more left as I've been getting older. So I just want a place to explore those ideas and what do these things actually mean? Like, should we really eat the rich? Like, is that something that we should do? Like, so just different things like that, just kind of exploring like what is socialism, what is like democratic socialism, and just figuring out what these things mean, and just it'll be my journey to the left, And so I just wanted to think that maybe it's a good format for that.
Yeah, that's a huge topic to cover because there is so much on the left that you can go to. I mean, there's just middle of the road, let's not let corporatism eat us all to like advanced far socialism and all that kind of stuff, and communism and all that kind of stuff. There is so much there. I mean, you could do the same thing for the opposite side, but it's way more frightening in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But
we should make a mirror podcast called One Journey Right.
Oh
I think
my
that's
God.
Fox News.
Oh well.
Yeah, it is. Speaking of that, I've been watching. There's a TV show. It's about Roger Ailes and how he started Fox News. It's been a really interesting show to watch how that journey has gone. It's been interesting to say the least. And so that evil cocksucker being dead, it's like I don't really wish death upon anybody, not really, but the world was a better place when he died. However, there is still a lot of these fucking fascist assholes out there who think just like him. And so you guys see it more than we do every day because of all of these people that get kicked out of their house from their loving Christian family and their kids turn out to be gay. They get the fuck out, man, hit the bricks, And so they end up homeless on the street. And I'm just saying that there's a lot of factors to that, but it's wow. But yeah, that sounds great though. I'm really, let us know when you drop that podcast and we'll be sure to post it on our page too. So,
and you guys can find me on Facebook /One Journey Left, and then I'll post when I post my first podcast. And Eric was very, very gracious in saying, "Hey, I'll help you figure out how to do this." So I have a great teacher here to like help me figure out how to make this whole podcast thing work. So
we've just been kind of stumbling through this as best as we can. I mean, it's
pretty
like.
Accurate.
Yeah.
But that means that I don't have to stumble through some of the same shit that you've done. So
yeah, he doesn't have to stumble as much.
Yeah. So
you're like, wow, Eric, just fucking post an episode.
All I have to say is Zencastr sucks.
Yeah, I'm hoping this works out. So if you're listening, we're recording on Skype now. And I will hopefully post the video separately because, oh my God, now that's just extra work and I hate extra work, but I love our 3 listeners. Anyway. Hi, one of them. If you want to support us on Patreon, go to patreon.com/OAF and really inspire me to post things. But is it worth it? I don't know. Also, we're all broke, so I get it.
Yeah, we are all broke. But honestly, give us 5 stars and write comments about us. And
yeah. If you say nice stuff, I will be inspired. So do that.
Oh my goodness.
No lie, I've had some people message me, about listening to the show, and that's really nice.
Uh-huh.
So I super appreciate when people do that. Or
exactly.
when we say something like I've had some people message me when I talk about being trans or being depressed or whatever, and they're like, "Yo, I feel that," and that feels really good.
Yeah.
I mean, not that other people are going through shit, but that they relate. Anyway, whatever.
I get it.
I think last time we recorded, I was really sick, wasn't I?
Yes, you were. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling mostly better.
Mostly better?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I still have like this cough happening, which has just not gone away, but I think I'm like fine.
Oh, I got back. You know how I hurt my shoulder back in January? I slipped and fell on that ice in January and hurt my shoulder and felt it pop and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Well, I saw the doctor this week, and I don't have like a bad torn rotator cuff. It is a little bit injured, but it's fine. Part of it is just getting old, but it's not actually like hurt,
That's good.
like not seriously. So It will get better over time. Imagine, because the rotator cuff goes this way, and then there's a kind of like a rubber band that helps hold it into the spot, right? So basically, I stretched the rubber band a little bit on the top. When I fell like this, it kind of made an isosceles triangle, and so it popped out a joint. When I landed this way, all the force went up because I was falling backwards, and I landed like this, and it went up. So I basically stretched the rubber band up here, but it's not torn to the point where I need surgery or anything like that. So it's just a little tender, but so I've been wearing that. I had this brace for a while that I wore for a couple of weeks, and that made it feel better. But there's nothing really to go. If it doctor says if it gets worse, come back in and we'll consider other options. But really, like micro tears and stuff like that. Nothing like big and ragged that you need to go in and saw off stuff or anything like that.
Oh, God. Well, that's good.
But I'm talking about, saw off ragged edges.
Yeah.
So nothing really bad. So, yeah.
Take the whole arm.
Take the whole arm. I'm actually thinking seriously about them just taking my left knee. Just take it off at the knee and I'll be fine. That's where I had the bone graft and all that kind of stuff. So it's like, just take my left leg and I'll be good. I'll get along better with a prosthetic, I think. I would definitely be in less pain, I think. So.
Yeah. You know what you need? Some weed.
Honestly, I think that if I did do that, I would honestly take less painkillers that I take. But if they're not, Illinois is about ready to totally legalize it. It's going to be on the next election whether or not weed is going to be legal in Illinois, and so they have the possibilities of setting up dispensaries and all that kind of stuff. But anyways, since it's not federally available, it's not federally legal, that even if Illinois does it, it's not the point. I still can't do it. I would still possibly lose my benefits from the VA if I took weed. If I smoked weed, if I popped positive on if they gave me a blood draw or urinalysis, and I could lose my benefits. So even if Illinois legalizes it, I'm still kind of screwed. But I think there's a lot of people like me who, I was involved in an opioid crisis too. I really think at some point I was probably addicted too. And so it was rough getting off of those onto some of the other medications because my first doctor did not give a fuck. She's like, have some painkillers, She didn't care. And so this one I actually think is taking better care of me. So, but I think it'd be better to get off the painkillers and smoke pot or do edibles or whatever, if I could take less stuff that actually affects my liver, or my kidney, I'd do it that way instead of, taking drugs. I think a lot of people would be like that.
It's such bullshit though, because it's like a plant that's natural that you can, use to be able to feel better, is illegal. But these pharmaceuticals and these things that people are making billions of dollars off of have all this political power behind them, are just given out like candy sometimes, and sometimes they don't even help. Yeah, and it doesn't even help sometimes. It's just like a mask for something that that could be better. I don't know. It just pisses me off.
Have you heard anything about what's going on with? There was all of these emails that got released about this pharmaceutical company that was making this stuff, and it's they bastardized the Doritos logo. You eat them, we'll make more. And they're like, you keep taking them, we'll make more.
Oh,
they're
God.
talking about painkillers. Yeah, this was this big deal. I heard it on another podcast that I listened to. One of the big ones, Cognitive Dissonance, was talking about it. And they were talking about this thing. And so, they were making the demand even greater than what it was so they could sell more pills. They were making, what was it? Like 1 trillion pills a year or something like that. Some ridiculous fucking number. And so, and they were monetizing the sellers to sell to people. So it doesn't matter whether or not if you need them, have doctors or dispensaries buy the pills so that they could make more pills. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't about need, and this is one of the things that we've talked about before, is that we don't really have a care-based system. We really don't.
No, that sounds a lot like the illegal drug market.
Absolutely, because
it's exactly the same. It's just legal.
Except it's legal. But anyway, so like there's some stuff going on that there's going to be consequences, hopefully, to the company. But do we really think that's going to happen? There's going to be consequences to the company? Not really. I really have no hope for anything substantial happening to the executives or the company. They all walked away with, millions of dollars, sitting back chilling in their fucking in their houses with their servants and shit, man. It's eat the rich, fuck it.
Yeah. All right.
Yes, I'm glad we have your approval. So
I was just saying, it's like the maximum cap that we've talked about before. Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So,
well, if you run healthcare like a business, it's gonna, look like a business. So what's the object of business is to make as much money for their shareholders as they can, right? And Absolutely. They don't care how they do that. So if you run healthcare like that, of course you're going to try to sell more things and give people things that they don't really need because you're trying to make money. And that's the only thing that matters. It doesn't matter. Healthcare is not healthcare. It's like health business, and it's
exactly
bullshit, and it affects people's lives.
Yeah, we're monetizing the care, not the health.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where the stuff like the universal basic income will help people. Also standardizing the single payer option or the socialized medicine. Oh my God, I said the socialist word.
Oh God.
We're gonna have some Republicans freak the fuck out because we use the S word. Oh, but yeah, I just think it's interesting. It's like, okay, I actually have a friend of mine who wants to get rid of Medicare and Medicaid and that kind of stuff, but for old people, he wants to get rid of it all. And so, but I'm like, this is basically what the start of what I want it to be is like, give everybody social security, the social security medicine, whatever the fuck that's called, do you know what I'm trying to say? I'm losing track of what
Medicare I'm trying to say. All?
Medicare for all, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's basically what I want,
Yeah. Well, it makes sense. And like if you did that, then you know that whole thing that Obama was talking about, like if you want to keep your doctor, you can keep your doctor, right? Like if it was Medicare for all, everyone would have the same system, be in the same system, so they really would be able to keep their doctor and be able to shop around. Like if their doctor's an asshole, they wouldn't be like, oh, well, I can't go out of my network and pay more to see someone who's actually competent. You could actually say, like, I'm going to go see someone who's more competent than you because you are a jerk. And that gives you more freedom, and that gives you more ability to choose. And it'll give, like, for the whole, like, Republican marketplace is the answer. Yeah, it's going to create a marketplace, and the bad doctors are not going to be seeing patients, and the good doctors are going to be seeing lots of patients, So, like, that will be the incentive for those doctors to work their asses off and to be able to provide really good care is by having the feet do the voting,
Yeah.
And so that's not the same as right now because you are in network and you have to choose between a few doctors, and especially if you need a specialist for anything, of course, you're going to have to go to this one specific doctor who's in your network, or like these two doctors that are in your network. And it's not choice. They always say that it's like your choice. It's like freedom of choice. I want to be able to choose my doctor and all that stuff, but it's bullshit. It's all backwards. They like frame it that way, but it's like double speak,
Yeah, it is. They're definitely talking backwards to try to confuse issues and confuse people who might not be educated in any of this at all. And so it's literally confusing them. You're absolutely right.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to think that I'm kind of educated occasionally. But some stuff that I'm not really educated on, and it's my fault. But like a lot of political stuff, honestly, like what is capitalism? What is socialism? And I think like a lot of people are in that boat because that's why we're all afraid of it. I mean, the same goes for like people that are afraid of gay people and trans people. They just don't really know what it is, and they're You know, so I'm kind of in the boat of I don't super know a lot about all the political stuff, and I know I've talked to Brandon some and he's explained like socialism a bit in person. But if anyone feels like educating me slash our three listeners right now, like what it like I don't know, what is it? What is it about?
It's basically everybody pays into the same system. It's like Norway, Sweden, Denmark. They've got the socialized medicine, and even Australia, Great Britain. What I find kind of funny is that I think is really interesting. I don't remember how much it is a day we give Israel, but basically we pay for their socialized medicine in the U.S. We pay for Israel's socialized medicine. That's
careful.
Awesome.
That's anti-Semitic to criticize Israel or anything that we do.
I understand, but there's enough wrong, enough right on both sides to give both sides pats on the back and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, the Palestinians, they're being pushed out by the Israels, by the Jewish people, but at the same time, they also say they want to kill all the Jewish people, and the Jewish people are like, we want to live. Yeah, but now you're reversing the tables, and the only way for them to get food and medicine in is for them to use the tunnels that they use to put soldiers in to do rocket attacks. Mm-hmm. So what do you want to do?
And I'm totally being facetious. I just think that anytime that someone like decides to criticize any policy, they like just go to like this big like that's racist, that's anti-Semitic, and I think that
I've had that conversation too several times.
And I think it shuts down conversation. It makes it so people are like not willing to like talk about real issues and like, like why can't we have socialized medicine in the United States, and why do we give so much money to other countries? And like, I don't think it's one of those things that we should get rid of, helping other people out, but we should also, take care of people in our country as well.
Absolutely.
Like it's not a zero-sum game. Like we can do things that benefit for everyone. And I think that's the bottom line. Is like, for me, like when I think of socialism, I think of two different tracks, right? So like I'm not like an expert in socialism or like leftist policies, right? I just read a lot about different things and I'm really interested in it. And what I've discovered is like you have this democratic socialism that's been kind of like put to the forward by like AOC and Bernie Sanders and all that stuff. And a lot of this is just like making sure that people that are really, really wealthy pay a fair share toward taxes, and that money goes toward doing things that are helpful to everyday people, right? And so it's like a kind of mostly looks like an expanded like safety net, right, for people, or like a welfare state, right? Like a ability for people to have what they need to survive. It goes a little further when you get like more into like the big socialist like ideas, and then the big socialist ideas have a lot to do with like having democratic control of institutions. So like part of it would be like if you had a workplace, you would have like everyone who was involved in that workplace would have a say about what happens, right? So that your work is a big part of your life, right? You spend a lot of time there every single day. So like if you wanted to have any policies enacted in your work, every person in that company would have a say in how it works. And then so like there's been like, and then that kind of goes up and up and up to different structures. So I think of like workplace, that's one aspect of your life. Community life, that's one aspect of your life. Political life, that's one aspect of your life. But the only thing that makes socialism or democratic socialism work is that there's democracy, and that there's the ability for people to have a say in what happens to them. Right. And so that's why, like, a lot of times when people say, like, you're communist, or like, they throw around the communist word, it's not the same. It's like what socialism is about society figuring out what's good and then working toward those ends. And then also having like really strict and really like really solid ideas about protecting the rights of people that won't be in the majority. Like, so like say like trans folks or like people of color or whatever, like we wouldn't be like, all right, since we're a society and we decide that, everyone should have this, but we should exclude trans people. Like that's not going to work in a truly democratic socialist society, because that society is going to protect the rights of everyone if they see like people getting singled out for things like that. So that's kind of my view. And the reason why it's kind of been shifting. Like I've voted for a Republican before, and I like that's really like shameful for me to say. Like
I have too.
And it's hard. Like I look back, I'm like, what the fuck was I thinking? Like I was so brainwashed, right? I was kind of getting on that whole like libertarian. I was doing okay at the time, and I was like,
I voted for George Bush.
Yeah, I voted for John McCain.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So now still coming out of that evangelical conservative brainwashing at the time, but I just think we need to think about like what are these policies doing that Republicans and conservatives are putting forward, and is it helping us in any way? And I don't think it is. So that's just kind of like for me, like that's the exploration of what it means to be left in American society and in the world. And there's a lot of really big left movements in like, you know, South America, Central America, other places like in Europe. And so it's really interesting to see what they're doing and the power that they have. But there's also this huge conservative backlash, and you see a lot of that stuff happening. Like, I'm not sure if you would consider Brexit conservative, but it seems pretty conservative to me.
It is.
And like, so like, I just want to explore this further because I feel like I know some things and I've read some things, but I really want to like dig deeper and have that conversation and be able to have like some feedback as well.
I have two things, if that's okay, Matthew.
Of course.
Okay, two questions for you, really, Brandon. One, how do you think, or how did you come out of the conservative Christian mindset? Because I know we've heard Matthew talk about how he did it a lot of times on the show, and I'm just wondering how you came to that yourself. And two, I don't know if you want to touch on this at all, but I believe you're the first native person that we've had on the show. We don't have a lot of people of color at all. Unfortunately, this realm is very white. But so if you want to touch on that at all, like that'd be pretty cool to talk about. I don't know what to talk about, but yeah. Cool.
I can do that. So like I grew up, you know, as one of those troubled teens. So that's probably why I work with, you know, youth that are experiencing difficulties, because it resonates and I kind of feel that. But I had this Christian organization come in, and they were like really helpful, and I had a really good mentor and stuff, but it also exposed me to a lot of really conservative Christian ideals. So like I went from being like the bad kid who just did drugs, wanted to play guitar and, you know, whatever, and to like someone who's like, hey, I think I want to graduate high school now. I think I might want to go to college. Like, so it was really influential. So if you have people like pouring their lives into you and helping you out in things that you need, it has a huge influence in, you know, in what you're thinking. So like I looked at my mentor, and she was like a conservative Christian woman, right? Mm-hmm. So I was like, oh, maybe that's the way to be, you know, maybe that's how I can get myself out of all this stuff, right? But as I got older and I saw like more and more hypocrisy, and like especially around like the whole gay thing, like that was one of the huge things for me. Is like when I was growing up, my aunt is a lesbian, right? And she, like, I didn't know that. She lived with my aunt Vanna, you know, and like she was just my aunt Vanna and my aunt Missy, right? Mm-hmm. So like they were just my aunts, and I didn't really know anything when I was little. And then as I grew up, I was like, oh, they're together. Oh, that's cool. You know, whatever. That's great. They love each other. That's really cool. But and then they started like doing this whole like thing about like trying to stop gay marriage, stuff like that, and just like restricting the rights. And it was like the forefront. And to me, that felt wrong. That was not where I was at. Like I didn't believe in that. I didn't believe that was right. I didn't believe it was like fair to tell people who they should love and who they shouldn't love, who they should be able to marry and who they shouldn't be able to marry. So then it just started opening my eyes to like the larger hypocrisy in conservative thought in my mind, and how it doesn't really jive with how I feel about the world, right? And so like as I was going through that, I was starting to see different things. And then also Bernie came out, and I really liked Bernie Sanders in the you know, in his first campaign for president, and he brought out some ideas, and I was like, oh, that like, why should someone be paid millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars, but workers shouldn't be paid, you know, a living wage? Like that doesn't make sense to me. Like someone spends 40 hours a week at this place working for you, creating wealth for you, and you should be able to take care of them and be able to like, they should be able to feed their family and have a place to live, right? Yeah. So like it's all these things that just kind of started, and then I just started reading more and more, and then I picked up the Communist Manifesto during that time, and I was like, oh, yeah, a specter is coming. So like I was just reading through things and I was like, this is a really interesting analysis of like society, and this jives way more with how I feel the world works and how I want to see the world change.
Yeah, but communism isn't socialism. You know
No,
that.
no, yeah, but Marx is like was one of the foundational people of like. So I like to look at things historically sometimes and like
Yeah.
see where things come from, and I feel like Marx and Engel were like the ones that started these like maybe they weren't the original, but they were really like big into those sort of ideas. And some of them I'm just like I'm not quite sure about that, but just reading it as like kind of a historical document and kind of figuring out where this stuff came from was really helpful in understanding like my new frame of mind. So.
I get
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, so it's like this weird transformation. I'm 34 now. This probably started when I was about like 24, about 10 years ago. And like it's just getting more and more intense like as the years go on, just the inequality and just like the bullshit that I see every day, like cops killing people, people not having food to eat, people being discriminated because of who they love or how they look, or people like just like systems such as like slavery and discrimination that's happened for so many years that's so embedded in our society, how it affects us today. Like I can't jive with that libertarian philosophy of like we all have an opportunity and we just make it if we can, and if we're lazy we don't get the things that we want. That's I feel like the playing field is starts off so uneven that there's no way that could ever be true, and the only people who think that's really true are the people who started off a little bit higher and were able to be able to work toward those things that they wanted. So more the exception instead of the rule. So
Yeah, that bullshit of pulling you up by your own bootstraps is just that bullshit.
mm-hmm.
So,
and that mindset is so strong in a lot of places, but coming from the South and from small towns in the South and redneck, what the fuck is his name? Rebel flag waving country. Let me tell you, that is the mindset. And people don't think other people have it worse because of any reason. Almost everybody there is white and just, I mean, they're poor. Like, I'm not saying we're not poor. Like, we're trailer trash, to be honest. But, and most people have the mindset that they have to work out of that, or like they work really hard for that trailer. And how could anyone like not be able to do that? And they just, I don't know, it's just this mindset, and they don't understand the idea of privilege. And when they hear the word privilege, they freak out. Just like when they hear the word socialism, I'm sure they freak out. So I don't know, it's tough. How do you, like, you both educated yourselves coming from different backgrounds and stuff, but how do we educate people? Do they just have to decide they're ready to be educated? Do they have to like get pissed off about something personally, maybe?
I think so. I think that last one is more true than anything else. I think that, okay, I've had this happen a couple of different times where I've had an argument with somebody, whether it be in person or on Facebook or whatever. And if I'm arguing against you, it doesn't matter whether or not I change your mind. It's whether or not I change Brandon's, or I get Brandon to think. You're arguing towards the audience. I'm arguing with you, but you're hoping that you make enough points with the audience for it to something to eventually sink in. And I think that's what happened to me, is starting to listen to these conversations of various different things, hypocrisy of the people in my religion, conservatism versus liberalism and all that kind of stuff. And then, it's not any one argument that wins you over. It's the totality of it that gets you thinking. And so you end up, if you're intellectually honest, to go start thinking about this stuff. That's the whole point, is that everybody's intellectually honest enough to be intellectually honest and to think about what their viewpoints are and why they have them.
Yeah, I would say that no one is taught to think analytically at all, even if, like, through our whole entire school system, I can tell you I was not taught to think analytically. No. Until I hit college, then they start challenging you a bit, but college is so fucked up in so many other ways. Like, I don't know.
But I don't think that my college, it might have, because I would have taken the class as an elective on critical and logical thinking. I don't think that there actually was, that class was actually offered. You know, I would have taken it as an elective if they did. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, I was.
I don't remember it.
Just like in my like general classes, like they really start challenging you to think like, why are you like learning this way? Why are you thinking this way? Why are you problem solving this way? How do you problem solve? Because basically in our education system throughout like from middle school to high school, like you just kind of sit there and are told stuff, right? And you try to memorize a lot of the time. No one's teaching you how to learn. No one's teaching you how to like figure stuff out on your own, which is what we need to fucking survive and to actually think about things.
It's just rote memorization. It's regurgitation.
Yeah, and so you start thinking you're really smart, or you're really dumb if you don't learn that well, like that. And so, thankfully, I learned well that way, and I thought I was really smart, but I didn't know shit. I didn't know how to think about things. I still like don't know how to analyze why I do things. I found you have to be very intentional if you want to know what you're doing, why you're doing things. You have to be very intentional in thinking about it and analyzing yourself. Otherwise, you just go back to old habits and old thinking. And thankfully, I don't have a lot of conservative background. I grew up around it, but none of it ever made sense to me. So I'm curious, like, why it didn't. But I just thought it was all fucking stupid. And I was like, I don't feel Jesus. I don't hear Jesus in my head. And like, then when I started figuring out like what LGBT people were and how they hated them, I was like, that's fucked up. I don't hate people. Also, I'm not racist because everybody around me was super racist, and that was equivalent to being a conservative Christian, essentially. And just all of those bad things, I think, stacked up to where I was like, this is all fucked up. So, not that you can't be any of those things without the other, but yeah.
I get you.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know. We have to start thinking and using our fucking brains, and our society is so turned off. Like, that's why people, like, there's so many reasons, but people are numbing themselves with everything, just like we talked about, and no one's thinking about why they're doing anything. They just stick with what they know because that's how it works.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I think one of the big things is, like, when I was in college, like, I started getting into, like, some sociology and philosophy courses, and, like, that blew my mind. I was like, so, like, philosophy is just, like, a matter of, like, thinking about things, like, really deeply and, like, questioning things. And, like, why are we assuming that this is correct? Like, just the whole nature of knowledge. Like, how do we know anything? That was really interesting to me. And then sociology was, like, thinking about, like, how our society works as a whole and how different people, like, navigate that society and how things are unequal and there's stratification and stuff like that. I think those two, like, courses, they were electives, right? I didn't like have to take them, but they were kind of interesting, and I took my first one of each. And then at the community college I was at, because I was poor and I had to go to community college, so like I took every single.
I don't get why people should bash on community college. I think community college is great, especially if you want to get your basics out of the way before you go and get your, if you want to go on and get your bachelor's degree or whatever. But I graduated from community college, and I'm just saying, I just think that community college is great to get away all of those electives and not pay university prices for fucking college math, college algebra. Do I want to pay $150 a semester hour, or do I want to pay $350 a semester hour?
Yeah. So that was a flippant comment, but like, yeah, I really do believe community college is really important, and I'm glad that it was there, because I wouldn't have been able to go to college if it wasn't.
Right.
Exactly.
So I took every single course in the philosophy department and the sociology department in my community college as I was going there, and that's what eventually, like, I'm a social worker, like that's what I ended up getting my degree in, and I think those two things were like huge in like figuring out what I wanted to do.
Let me ask you a question, please, because you just brought up that you've got a degree in sociology.
Social work.
Yeah, social work. With how the society is right now, do you think that we can see the possibility of people being isolated more from the society, especially if they don't identify as being cis white Christian? Do you really think that the isolation of non-cis white Christian is getting stronger?
I don't know, like empirically, I don't know.
I understand.
But like anecdotally, like I feel like we are getting more and more isolated, and then we end up in these echo chambers of people who agree with us about everything, right? So like we're getting more isolated socially, like in the world, and then we find like, you know, ways to be non-isolated in technology, which is great in some ways, but it also can be like not as fulfilling and not as genuine and not as real, because we're sitting here putting up these facades about who we are on Facebook. Like you don't post like, I just woke up this morning, I look like shit, right? Like that's usually not what you do, right? You usually put like, I just, you know, went to a charity ball and it was really fun, you know, like, so everyone thinks I'm great. I think for me, a lot of it is people really need each other. Like we all need each other in like such a deep and meaningful way. And I think there's so many things that get in the way of that. And I think that's part of why our society is so like you were saying, numbing and just like trying to figure out ways to make themselves feel alive. When I think bottom line is like our need for other people and social interaction is just huge. And so we see all these problems, and like a lot of times we can't link those to like what the reality is that we need some people and some support around us, you know? I don't know. I don't know if that answers your question, but that's kind of the vein I went.
No, but I thought it was a good answer. That's fine. There's, you know, no such thing as a bad answer for a lot of things. So, but I thought it was good.
I think that's one reason I really enjoy doing this podcast, even if I am fucking flaky sometimes. But I really do enjoy it because Matthew and I, we come from such different like backgrounds, and we've lived such different lives, and we're such different people, but we really come together and we get to be our genuine selves. And I am extremely genuine. And I really like being extremely genuine.
You are the most genuine person ever and the most genuine people.
Yes! You figured it out. Shut the fuck up. I like my words. My big words. Okay.
My big words. I have the best words.
Oh, God.
So, anyway, I'm not like that. Oh, but I really enjoy being genuine on the podcast, on my social media as much as possible, you know, and in person.
Yeah, that's one of the things that... we're not friends on Facebook, Brandon, but you see, you could probably figure if you go to our Facebook page who posts what on the Facebook page.
Oh, definitely.
But I've posted some stuff where I'm sure people have been like, wait a minute, that's Matthew posting this? That's kind of interesting too. But anyway, so yeah, you can see that. But also at the same time is I really don't try to put on airs. I really don't. I mean, yeah, I try to show a good face, but what you get is what you get. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, I really don't try to put on airs. I really, really don't. And so if like, and there are definitely times where I'm just trying to joke around, and I'm like, I posted a Facebook post. It was like, yeah, somebody who says, if a technical marketer calls, I just say, I'm going to be masturbating throughout this entire phone call. I hope you're okay with this. And anybody who knows me knows that's a joke. Do you know what I'm saying? So, because sometimes I like to say stuff and just have people go, what the fuck? Because if you're not fucking with somebody in a small way, it's not a good day. Just a little bit. I like play little jokes on somebody. And to post these things, for me, it's funny, and it's a breaker. You know, it's break the tension or that kind of stuff, because I just get so down watching all this bullshit that I see with the politics and the national, even the international relations. You know, to bring it back to what you were discussing earlier with about Brexit, is Brexit yes, that's an isolationist. That's about us and the Great Britain tribe. And fuck all you people on the continent. This is our island, and we're going to do whatever the fuck we want. And that was coming from the conservative, white, generally speaking, old people saying that. Get the fuck off of my lawn. That's exactly what that was all about. So, I'm just...
So, Matthew, we know you're 100 years old, but...
Oh, you look good for 100.
You look really good.
Thanks. Thanks.
And
I
Brandon,
moisturize. I moisturize.
He rubs the lotion in his.
I rub the lotion in the skin.
All right.
And Brandon is about 9 or 10 years older than me, 8 or 9.
I'm 34.
Oh, I'm 24. So 9 or 10. I'm almost 25. Hold up.
And I'm 15 years older than Brandon.
Yeah. You're actually only, I know how old you are.
I know, I'm old.
65. Oh, yeah. Sorry.
I rub the lotion in the skin.
But so, I'm also at an interesting point of being 24, turning 25 soon. And I think, like, I'm becoming an adult, and my brain is, like, stopping developing and all that shit. And I don't know, it's, like, changing the way I see things. And it's hard. It makes things actually really hard. I don't know if I'm just losing optimism or what the fuck is happening. But shit is going down. I don't like it. I feel like terrible. I feel like the world sucks. I feel depressed. I mean, I was already depressed. That's not new, but shit, it's hard, and I don't see it getting better. I don't know. Is it harder?
It just is what it is. It's just your life and your situation, and you deal with it the best you can, like everything else. It's like, well, fuck, this sucks. Okay, move the fuck on. What am I gonna do? I can either roll over, die, or I can just fucking put on my big boy pants and have a nice day. You know, it's like there's not much else you can fucking do about it. It's like you just do the best you can. And I say try not to hurt anybody intentionally.
Yeah, maybe it's like my worldview is going smaller now that I'm getting older, which I don't know. I don't necessarily like. Like, I mean, just in my head, before it's like I can affect the entire world. I can change the whole world. I can save the whole world or whatever the fuck I was thinking. And now it's like, how do I even make it through my own fucking day, you know? And like, I know now that everybody's going through the same shit. Everybody's life sucks on some level pretty much. And everybody's struggling. And like, how do we all get through our own day? And then how do we worry about everything else and changing the world and all of that?
Rub one out, have a glass of water, and try not to hurt anybody.
Yeah, I think for me, like, that happened in my mid-20s where I like kind of looked at the world and was like, I remember when I was really young, I was really idealistic about like all these things and all these things I could change, and they're going to change in my lifetime, and it's going to happen, right? And as I got older, I was like, I think some of these things might not change, but I'd really like to work toward it. And it might not be a huge change in my life, but like I'd really like to have my life trajectory be like working towards these things I care about. So like as I've gotten older, I think my idealism, my unrealistic idealism has gone down, and my more realistic idealism has gone up, and like I have a longer view of life and things in general, because like all these things are fucked up, and there's a lot of fucked up things in the world. And if we just focused on every single fucked up thing that happens in our world today, like that's just too much. But we can also look at some of the good things. We can also look at some of the things that we're doing in our lives that we think make the world a better place. Even if it's not like on a global level, like in someone else's life, like what are we doing in someone else's life to, you know, make the world a better place? And so like, I think it's just a longer view and a less unrealistic idealism.
Yes.
And unrealistic idealism is great. It sparks ideas. It makes shit happen. And that's why you see a lot of young people doing a lot of really incredible stuff, because they don't realize it's unrealistic and they just do it and it happens, right? So I think that those things, like really big things, can happen from that. But I think like as you get older, you're just like, I think I'm going to work in a way where I can actually see progress and see something happen and like actually make an impact instead of just shooting for the moon all the time and not seeing anything, you know, come from it.
I was going to make that point about, but you brought it up. Great. I thought it was about, I think everybody has that idealism, but I think it's important not to lose your optimism, but be tempered with realism at the same time. And so that's kind of what I was thinking. And Brandon, you said it great. And so, but you pretty much said what I was thinking. So, yeah. We're right here, bro. We're right here. So you guys want to play some Trump?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. For those who don't know, our 3 listeners, you all know this game, but I'm going to have 2 quotes. And I'm going to give you my best Trump impersonation that I'm going to give at the moment. And you 2 will decide which one was Trump. Brandon, if you didn't know, last week Eric went 0 for 3.
Yeah,
he went 0 for.
Or was that the one with Callie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the one after.
Oh.
No, was it?
One where I was really sick.
Oh, yeah.
I think.
Yeah, we didn't have Callie. That was but the one where Eric was sick was before, was after Callie. But Eric had an 0 for. He went 0 for 3. Oh.
I did. They were really hard, and I was dying, so I feel like I have a good excuse.
But one of the cards was Trump Hitler. I mean, those are always tough.
They are.
Yeah, because they're so similar.
They are so similar. Oh, these are going to be amazing. So let's try this too. Okay.
All right.
Me. That was a reference to the Three Stooges, by the way, in case you didn't. So anyways, while I have no desire to see Mr. Obama's birth certificate, I do want to see his college transcripts. That was quote number 1.
Okay.
Quote number 2. Someone's doing the raping. Don, somebody's doing it. Who's doing the raping? Who's doing the raping?
I feel like I remember number 1, but was it being said by Trump, or did I remember it being said by someone else?
I'd say number 1.
I'm going to say number 1.
You are both wrong.
God damn it.
Number 1 was by Andrew Breitbart Media.
Okay, that's where I knew I heard it somewhere.
That's where Stephen Bannon came from. Went to go work at Trump and then went back to Breitbart. While I have no desire to see Mr. Obama's birth certificate, I do want to see his college transcripts. Andrew Breitbart.
You probably wouldn't have said Mr. Obama.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, he did say Mr. Obama. What did I say?
I meant Trump wouldn't say Mr. Obama.
Yeah. You're right, he wouldn't. Although I think Andrew said it because he's a little bit more politically savvy than Trump is. So, but anyways, number 2 is, of course, Donald Trump. Because he calls himself Don in the third person. Who doesn't do that? You know?
Brandon does it all the time.
Eric does it all the time.
I look at myself in the mirror and go, Matthew, fuck you. You know? Who doesn't do that shit? You know? Someone's doing the raping. Don. Someone's doing the raping. Who's doing the raping? Who's doing the raping? God, who the fuck says that 3 times in a row?
God. I didn't hear you say Don. I missed that.
No, I thought I was giving it away, but it was in the quote. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a gimme. And I'm not surprised it wasn't, because Breitbart's a fucking fascist too. Anyways, card number 2, quote 1. I don't like the concept of divorce, but sometimes it becomes necessary.
That sounds like Trump. Go ahead.
Number 2. When a man opens a car door for his wife, it's either a new car or a new wife.
Oh my god! God. That sounds like it too. Oh.
I'm gonna say 2.
I'm gonna go with number 1.
Yes. You split?
Yep.
Yeah.
Brandon's correct.
Yes.
I'm gonna go.
I'm sorry. Number 1 is correct.
Oh shit.
Number 1 is correct. Eric is right, and number 2 was wrong. That was Prince Philip, who is the Queen's consort. The Queen of England, his consort. I got those confused. But yeah, number 1 is Trump. I don't like the concept of divorce, but sometimes it becomes necessary. Donald Trump, who 3 of his 4 wives are basically Russian imports. Number 2, when a new man opens a car door for his wife, it's either a new car or a new wife. Prince Philip.
That's open up his car door. Like, now that I think
No. Prince Philip doesn't open up his own fucking car door. Come on.
Yeah. No, but Trump, I don't think, would say something like that. It sounds too, like, chivalrous. Like,
Trump wouldn't open up his car door either.
No, he might open up his own car door from the inside. Maybe.
Yeah.
But from the outside now, he's got people to do that for him.
Yeah.
Usually enlisted. Okay. Number 2. Oh, this is going to be fucking hard.
Oh.
Women are nothing but machines for producing children. That's quote number 1.
Yep.
Quote number 2. If you have the money, having children is great. Quote number 2.
Number 1.
Number 1.
You are both wrong. Number 1 was Napoleon Bonaparte.
Well, I'm glad Trump didn't say that, at least. He might think that, though.
Women are nothing but machines for producing children. Napoleon. Number 2, if you have the money, having children is great. Trump. Because Trump,
that was vague.
Trump didn't give a shit about his kids. I read that in one of the books that came out about Trump, that he was basically an absentee father. Why am I not surprised?
Yeah.
And so he didn't give a shit about his kids until after they came back from college.
This is so much easier when I'm sitting at home. I'm like, oh, of course that's Trump. And then, like, now that I'm on here, I'm like, oh, I don't know. Or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
so
hard.
Eric went 2 for 3, and unfortunately, Brandon, you went 1 for 3.
1.
No, I think I only got 1 also. Or did we get 1 right together?
Maybe we'll review the tapes. And
I
get
can't
back
remember.
So, but I think Brandon went 1 for 3. Eric, you went 2 for 3. I know you went 2 for 3.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, because I got the middle one confused. It was Trump when you said it was Trump, and Brandon said the other guy. So you went 1 for, and Eric went 2 for. So.
I like 2.
Oh God!
It always comes back to the dick.
It always comes back to the dick. Always. Whenever does it not? Anyway, so Brandon, is there anything you want to plug? Your social media, your podcast? You know, get out a dildo, plug yourself. Who cares?
It's not really my thing, but like it's okay if it's yours. Or anyone else.
I get it. I'm the same way, man. It's not really mine, but I'm good.
Lots of straight guys like that. Yeah. Trust me, they asked me for it.
I'm not surprised.
And they do.
Well, that's what happens when, straight men are left home alone. Like, they end up in the emergency room because they put shit up their butt.
That's super true.
Yeah, so that, if you ever talk to an emergency room doctor, you'll hear about all these people putting shit up their butt. Not shit, but maybe shit. But anyways, so on that note, One Journey Left. So Facebook/One Journey Left. You'll come like my page, and then I will let you know when I get things up and running. I'm going to do it soon, and then we can have more conversations like this.
Awesome.
Yeah, maybe we could be on your show.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
That'd be super hella awesome. And yeah, I bet by the time I actually get this out in podcast world, you'll have several shows.
Cool. That would be great.
Well, this is Matthew, and for Eric, this has been the Odd Atheist Friends. Where we number 68, I think.
Oh yeah, I think so. I forgot.
I think so. Yeah, whatever. Anyways, so we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye. Gotta hit stop recording.